Thanks for joining me for this foam roller session. For this, I really like a traditional long foam roller. This is about 3 feet long. This will also work with a shorter foam roller. There's some that are kind of 18 inches, I think. And it should mostly work with any of the ones with kind of the knobbier surfaces. It just might be a little too intense in some places. So you may just want to adjust as needed. And if there's any part of this routine where you want to spend a little more time on a part, just hit pause, take your time, and hit play when you're ready to dive back in. So we're going to start with that foam roller right underneath your shoulder blades. And you're going to bring your hands behind your head and just take a little inhale and a little lean back. Open your chest. And then exhale, lift it back up. Inhale. And exhale, lift back up. A couple more like that. Good, 2 more. Last one. And bring it back up and pause. Good. Now let's roll forward a little bit. Get it right underneath your neck. Sink your weight in there. And just take a little look over one shoulder. And then the other. Just kind of rolling your neck back and forth. And then we're going to bring it back underneath your shoulder blades. A couple of arm placements here that you can play around with. You could keep your hands behind your head, support your head. Or you could also bring your hands across your chest. That'll change which part of your shoulders are really getting the massage here. We're going to lift our tush up off the mat. And we're just going to focus here on our upper back. Basically from the bottom of our shoulder blades to the top of our shoulders. And you might work a little bit of an angle here, rotating from one side to the other. And then we're going to move it to our mid back. So thinking bottom of your ribs to the bottom of your shoulder blades. Here, I like to cross my hands over my chest. There's not a whole lot here in that mid-back to get, but it's nice to give it a little bit of a roll. And then we're going to take a little pause. We're going to hit our lats. That's that kind of big muscle here underneath your armpit. And you're just going to bring that foam roller right underneath your lat. I always think of swimmers when I think of lats because they always have really big ones. So think of that muscle and you're just going to give it a little roll back and forth. It's a little bit awkward, but it feels really good. You might be able to keep your butt down. You might need to lift it up. And then the other side, same thing. Reaching that arm out long. And then we'll bring our seat to the floor. Bring that foam roller under your low back. Bring your hands behind your roller, feet to the floor. So now we're going bottom of the ribs to your hips on that low back. And here you really want to twist to the side so that you can get those extensor muscles along your spine. So just give it a little rock over to one side. And then switch, give it a little roll on the other side. And we'll switch a couple of times. Just back and forth. This is one of the ones where if you're on kind of a knobby roller, it might not be super comfortable. So if that's the case, you could skip this, or you might be able to kind of lift your weight up a little bit with your hands and your feet to make it a little less intense. And then let's pause, set your hips on top of your roller, and we're just going to walk ourselves down so that your feet are on the floor, your hips are on top of the roller. We really want our pelvis kind of square on there and your upper body's on the floor. We're gonna hug our right knee in, send our left leg out long. This is a nice hip flexor stretch. Take a second here. You might rock that right leg back and forth. And if you want a little kind of bonus hip massage here too, you can take that right leg, left hand to the outside, right hand to your roller, take your right knee over to your left side, find that little spine twist, and you can give a little rock there right on your hip. And then we'll bring it back in, right foot down, left foot in, and then you can send that right leg out long. If you are having trouble getting that long leg to the floor, you need more of this. This also works great off the end of a bench or a sofa or a bed. Basically, your hips would be at the end of whatever you're laying on. And then take that twist if you would like. And then we'll bring it back, feet to the floor, lift your hips, go ahead and roll that roller kind of out underneath your knees so that we can adjust. We're actually going to bring it back underneath your hips. There's just no easy way to get your upper body up here. And then we're going to find a little figure 4 stretch. So here I've got my left foot, my left ankle above my right knee, and I'm going to rock over towards my left side and give that a little roll back and forth, really getting into that piriformis. You might play around with that angle a little bit. You might come towards the center and then back over to the left. I like to do a few rolls back and forth and then kind of move an inch. Do a few rolls, move an inch. And then we're going to switch it out, cross it to the other side. And again, we're moving through these fairly quickly. This is a nice routine on its own, but definitely feel free to pause at any time to give anything a little more attention. Moving it from side to side, giving that piriformis a little roll. And then we'll bring it back to the center. And then we're just going to roll our glutes a little bit, so legs out long. And I like to kind of set it down on my heels and just basically stretch my legs back and forth. And you might try even kind of externally rotating your legs so your feet are kind of turned out. And then you might roll it through and turn your feet in a little bit, just to make sure you're hitting all those parts. And then, before we get into hamstrings, we're going to do a little IT band. So let's flip it over to one side. Your bottom leg is on the roller, your top foot is on the floor, your hands are on the floor, and you're going to give that a roll from your hip to your knee. Your IT band runs basically along that side seam of your pants, and we want to angle kind of an inch on either side of that. So not just right down the middle, but just a little bit to each side. This is a spot where you might find some knots. If you do at any point, feel free to hang out and just pause and kind of sink your weight into them, give it a little more of a trigger point situation. This may be one of those times where you need to pause the video. And then we'll just kind of flip it over. You could just flip all the way over to save you from just having to stare at my backside. I will just flip my whole person. rollering, we're trying to get both sides of that IT band. And since we're already kind of halfway there, we're going to go ahead and do quads. So flip yourself all the way over and then roller basically right underneath the top of your pelvis. Roll it down towards your knees. You can kind of play around with how high your upper body is here. You could also be on your forearms. And just give that a nice roll back and forth. And then moving into the back of our legs, flip yourself around however is convenient with your setup. And we're going to bring that roller right underneath your hamstrings, hands to the floor. We're going to start with just a little rock back and forth, rotating so that our toes touch, big toes touch, and then so that our heels touch. So maybe kind of one big back and forth with your feet in a neutral position, trying not run over the dog. And then a couple of rocks with your heels in, toes out. And then a few rocks with your toes in, heels out. Your hamstring has 3 parts, so this is a good way to make sure we get all of it. You might also stack one leg over the other. That'll help you get a little more weight in there. Make sure you do both sides. And then finishing up just about with our calves, basically the same thing. We're going to set the roller right underneath them. And we're going to go heels in, toes out, couple rocks. Toes up to the ceiling, couple rocks. Make sure you're getting way down there and your Achilles down by your feet. And then a couple rocks, toes in, heels out. And again, you could cross one leg over the other and really dig in there. I like to do both. That way I get kind of that whole back and forth with the inside and the outside. And then we're going to do just a little bit of extra here. I want you to put your left foot on the floor. I want you to turn your right toes inward towards your left so that you've got this inside part right on top of the roller. And give that just a nice rock. A lot of shin splint, plantar fasciitis, those type of things crop up in this just kind of inside part. So we want to give that a nice little roll. And then the other side, right foot on the floor, left foot points in. This is also super good with a lacrosse ball, since it's a little bit smaller. And then we're going to finish up with just a tiny bit of stretching here. You're going to spin that foam roller long ways. This will not work with a short roller, and it may not work with a knobby roller, just depending. So feel free to kind of stop here if that's what you're using. But if not, roll yourself down so you're on top of the roller long ways. It's along your spine. Make sure your hips are on it, your head's on it. Should be long enough. Arms are going to reach up, and we're just going to finish with a big inhale, reach back, arms back by your ears, stretch through your shoulders, exhale up. Inhale back, we're going to do 2 stretches here. These are really good if you're doing a lot of things where your arms are in front of you, computer, driving, biking, any of those things. And these couple of stretches are nice on their own if you just need a break. One more. And then we're going to inhale, open our arms out to a big T. Exhale back up. You should feel this one in your chest, across your pectoral muscles. Inhale. Good. Let's go 3 more. 2, 1. And then we're going to roll off the foam roller. That's pretty much it. If you want a little added restorative bonus, you can take that foam roller underneath your hips, bring your legs up to the sky, and finish with a little waterfall here. This is a comfortable position in waterfall. It takes a lot of stress out of your hip flexors and your hamstrings. But if you're off to do other things, if you're about to work out, you can always come back to this position later. And stay here as long as you like. This is great for 2, 3, 5 minutes. Thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed your foam rolling session.